Testing, 1, 2.
A lot of feedback.
Yeah, getting feedback from some. Test, 1, 2. Think you're good to go now? One. Okay, good. Okay, let's get on the mic up now. Sorry about that. The problem was in that corner.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Watch your ears.
It's all your fault, Jamie.
So the concern is around your house in the close proximity to the ones at 4716, 4718 Shirley. That's the units right in here, third from the corner. They have the slope that comes up. The slope between them is not going to be affected, but it's the same slope as exists now, same steepness. The slope that is towards the entrance over here, I had them look at too, same steepness as what we've got now. So you're not steepening the slope. They're pulling some soil from the very base, but the hillside's not going to be any different as far as the slope than it is right now. The one that's going to see the most change is over here, and that is on Summer Ridge Court, 1020 Summer Ridge Court, because they right now have a more gentle slope that comes down that's going to be steepened. All right, sorry to do this to you, Jim. Go back one slide. However, that property line is defined for the most part, I believe, by the trees that are back there. So on the southern side of this is where the excavation work is going to be performed. The northern side, it's their property, shouldn't be affected at all. Okay. Now, when we look at the geology, I'm going to make you go back one more, Jim, and then.
Excuse me.
Red clays that we're concerned about. The arc is probably somewhere in here. This cul-de-sac and these fills we're looking at as far as building a pond there. The cut slopes that are over through here are all in sandstone. And the best way we figured out to depict that, finally to the third one. I had them put together a graph for us that shows the types of rocks they found in each boring. And this black line is the approximate level of what the development's going to be at the base where the townhomes are going to be built. The drilling that was done up on the slope, you can see it's all tans and greens, yellows and greens. That's all sandstone materials. The reds and everything everybody's worried about, the oranges are down here below that level. So the cuts above are not going to be impacted. The one that's going to be possibly impacted by going into the reds is that fourth cut. Sorry, Jim, go back. Number 2. That is this slope over here. And what I had them do is a what-if analysis. were there, so they backed the numbers off greatly. By doing that, even with the small slope down here, the very bottom being into the clays, it's still a stable slope because the sandstone above it is very strong, very stable. So like I say, I have no concerns about any of the cut slopes back here as far as the shape and the stability. Proximity, that's a whole different issue between the developer and the residents in the municipality.
What is the number of that cut slope that you pointed to in relationship to the document that you sent us?
Okay, this is Geotech 5, cut slope 5.
Okay, but the one.
This is 6.
Okay.
I think this is 2.
Anything else, Bud?
That's all I've got unless you have questions or other questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In your document, under cut slopes 1, 5, and 6, where's number 1?
Oh, I'm sorry, I think this is number 1.
Okay, that's kind of what I was getting at. So it says, based on the site-wide geologic profile, 3 of the large cut slopes, 1, 5, and 6, appear to be situated. So if you did the boring, why is the word appear used and not like a more definitive word, as in are situated?
Okay, because when we do the borings, you can see there's B1, B5, B2. We scatter them across the site. And as engineers, we interpret what we're seeing. I don't know if, does the camera work? Okay. If you want to. I brought this, but I couldn't get it to come up on my PowerPoint.
I don't know.
No, that's good.
Good.
Apparently not.
There we go. Okay. This is a representation of the geology in this area. One of the things that we tend to do is define everything. I hate to call it, but it's almost pancake geology. So we see sandstones in one location, they are pretty much a band around the given area. So if we're seeing it in 1, 2, 3, or 4 borings on the site at about the same elevation, we're pretty sure that we're in something like the Morgantown sandstone that's here. Then you get into the reds and the shales and stuff down below that, and then below the Ames, which is way down the valley, the really bad red beds that we talk about. So we can interpret between borings based on elevation what we're seeing out there without hitting every precise spot, because it's not cheap to drill. Yeah.
So if it's not situated in the upper layer of the sandstone, how would that change the development? Would it still be able to be developed? Since it just appears, since it's just, you're doing kind of an estimation based upon the borings that are around?
I'm comfortable with it is sandstone.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
There's no doubt in my mind, based on the borings and based on the regional geology, it is sandstone. Why they use the word appears, we don't, as engineers, don't like to be tied down.
I don't know, we chemical engineers like to be tied down very much. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the slopes, the cut slopes are stable. They have a small issue with maybe where the pond is. There was a question at a public hearing a long time ago about a fence at the top of the slope. Has there been any thought given to any sort of barrier across the top of this slope?
You have an egg rolling contest down the hill? You have an egg rolling contest down the hill?
Yeah, I mean, the stability, fence is not going to help any stability.
It's not going to help any stability, but
And if somebody
Well, I think the concern was not so much visual as a concern about safety.
Okay, but we're saying the slopes are very similar to what it's.
Excuse me, sir, could you get at the microphone? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I can hear.
As they said, though, I'm Gary Hall, in case you need that. The slopes are not indifferent when we're done to what they are right now. And there's never been the need to this point.
Okay, I'm just asking the question.
I mean, if that becomes a point of contention, I'm sure it's something we can talk about and work through. We have everything else, so.
I guess the thought in my mind is that the slopes are, of course, going to be the same geometry. You're claiming they're parallel slopes, but now you're getting closer and closer to their property line. So my understanding is now, instead of having a 10-foot easement from their property line to the beginning of the slope, you're now up against the property line.
But we're not.
If you want to go back, Jim, to my second slide. Okay, their property boundary is up here. You can see there's a good setback here from the property. There's a good setback from the other house that's closed.
By looking at that, you can't tell the distance and depth. So I go back there all the time with my dogs.
Could you come up and use a microphone, please?
Okay.
Here, go.
My name is John Sipple. I live
Let
at
me
4738
clarify
Shirley
here.
Lane.
Okay, so the property line is right here, fairly close to where the home is,
Right?
okay? These orange lines are the limits of grading. Those are the proposed contours, and then these the dashed lines are
I
what's
understand that,
existing
but
there
what
now.
is the distance?
I don't know the distance right off
Right,
the
so it's
top of
very
my head,
misleading
but
to look at
this
that,
is-
because that property line, the way that it looks to me, is 30 feet off my back porch,
It is.
right? So what you want to do
Or
is,
actually, I think it's less than that.
exactly, it is less than that. So what they want to do is come up and take all that space away so that I walk out 20 feet, and then it's going to start going down.
That's not accurate.
How is it not accurate if you're going to slope it
It's
that
not
way?
accurate. Your property line, getting the wrong thing here. This is your property line. This is the
Right.
property line for the condo association. These orange lines here are the grading at the top of the slope.
Is that as is right now? Or is that 2B?
That's the same steepness. We're
Okay, you
pushing
answered
in a
the
little
question.
bit.
So that is the 2B.
Is the top of the slope the same place that it is now?
We're coming in a little bit, but we're on our property.
Okay.
It's 10 or 15 feet that it's coming in, it's not coming in.
It's about- Right.
Just for perspective, if you want to say that this property line is 20 feet off of your house, look at the space between your house and the property line and the property line and the top of the orange line. It's at least 3 times that distance. So if you're 20 feet off on your property, you've got another 60 feet or more of the yard that's going to remain.
Right, so that's what we're using right now is backyards, whatever. Based
Right.
on how we take care of it for the HOA. So again, if that's, say, 60 feet right now, I think it's actually probably closer to 70 or 80 feet
Right.
off the back porch.
Right.
What does that go to? He's saying it goes to 70 feet.
Yeah, if it's 80 feet, it goes to 65 to 70, give or take. Again, you've got a very irregular yard back there. Your yard bows out,
Into property that isn't,
it bows out significantly.
So
Look,
this is as is right now.
Yeah, that's as is. That perspective is where your property line, give or take, is. So the closest is on this corner, but you still have all that wide backyard there.
So you're saying this is staying?
Yeah, yeah. And what he's talking about is what I had shown.
When it's finished, you will still have the biggest backyard unit on that side of that.
I know, I'm just trying to understand how much you're taking away from it. And I'm worried about animals going down there as well. My wife walks down there. I want to know what it's going to, how far out that's coming.
okay, so there's no grading outside of their property.
Correct.
All right, does anyone else have any comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Question. There is two dead-end streets that are proposed.
Yeah, could you put that back up again?
Here and here, right? And there's recommendations, they don't meet the municipal standard of 24-foot wide, nor do they provide turnaround access for emergency vehicles there. If the site plan proceeds forward and for approval and requires excavation to proper widths of that street or for turnarounds there, is there any impact on the geotechnical side?
I can answer that. Because right now, the flat area, the developable area at the tops of the slopes, we're not going to change that grading over that edge. So that would be the limits of whatever would happen if we do modify those. Since this is, excuse me, for consideration of the conditional use permit, we haven't gone in and taken a look at any of those issues that we've discussed previously. And as we go to the next step, then we'll come back in and either request the modifications or make some other modifications in order to bring that into compliance.
Why would you kick that can down the road? I guess the question is, why would you kick that can down the road?
Well, because they're two different applications. Right now, this is a conditional use permit for doing the grading. If something were to happen, comments that would affect that grading, then we would be redoing everything for that. So,
Well, Jeff, if the road isn't wide enough, it looks like you're going to have to push everything back and regrade some of it.
No,
You may
we would
lose-
not.
You may lose a unit or two.
we may lose a unit or two, but we're not going to expand out beyond the edge of that existing slope or the top of that slope.
Yeah, I could see you couldn't do that.
Correct. So we wouldn't be able to do that. We're limited to working within that pad area with whatever we do to modify in order to either request a modification or,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Kathy.
Hi again. This is my once-a-month visit to the Planning Commission. You've all been really nice. I have to tell you that I just don't understand why we are pushing the limits on this. When we first purchased our property, and just a very quick review, there were supposed to be 92 units built altogether. There's currently 54. We are now looking at an additional 61. So that means a total of 115 units on one private road with one access in, very steep, and I promised I wasn't going to repeat myself again, but I am moving on now. They want to build 61 units. 12 of these units should not be built. Those 12 units and if you want to point, the green, the pink, and the blue are directly under.
These right here?
Yep. They're directly under our Summerhill property that was developed by the same developer. I think they have a fiduciary relationship, with us in the long term to protect us. And I am really, really worried about these units being built. Now, I would like to ask that nobody votes on anything tonight because now there are new reports that have come out. Today, apparently the solicitor wrote something and there was a response from the developer. We don't have those. I've been sending into Patty like every other week a request for the right to know so I can keep up to date.
Let's clarify that every other day.
Pardon me?
Every other day.
Every other day. No, and I know she's on vacation this week, and that's why things didn't, tell her we missed her because nothing was as smooth as it usually is when she's available. Okay, so we have, obviously this isn't ready to be, voted on, but there are too many units here, and if you reduced it by 12 units, I realize the developer will not make as much money as they would normally make if they could build all 61 units, but it would really keep the integrity of the community. And maybe they could build another unit somewhere else in this plan that doesn't have to be right into the slope that's directly underneath these houses. But this is the report that I got a couple weeks ago, and I've been trying to figure it out. And obviously, there's new information that's come up, but I go down there, I walk down there, it's very, very, very steep. They want to build into a very steep hill. And this is what RU Consulting has written. As part of the evaluation, consideration should be given that the top of the failure surfaces, that would mean our houses up above, I believe, encroach upon the residential properties at the top of the slopes. A failure following the slide plan with the lowest factor of safety currently presented could impact the existing residences and designated easements. We have a sewer line there. And I don't know about water lines, but I know there's a sewer line. When evaluating the consequences of a reduced strength soil structure, off-site impacts should be evaluated. And then I had an engineer who mentioned to me that the word should is kind of a questionable, is it should or could or would be evaluated as opposed to should. The stormwater basin has also been a concern. If you reduced it by 12 units, that stormwater basin would not be as impacted, from what I understand, the way water flows. Also, what about those 12 units when it rains and the water that's going to be coming down from our community up above? I really think that the perfect solution would be to not build these 12 units. And then you would have 103 total as opposed to 116 or 115. Any reduction in traffic, in the amount of cars on that private road with one access in, that we're all landlocked in there, would be greatly appreciated. Obviously, this is a work in progress. Just wanted to look and see. There was something else that was written that was concerning to me. The site was evaluated as a dry site. You know, we've been pretty dry all summer, with no groundwater or surface water impacts evaluated due to the propensity of the red clays and the red soils to develop issues in moisture to wet environments. This should be included in the overall evaluation. Being landslide prone, we question the stability of the cut slopes and the embankment fills being proposed. The parameters used for the stability analysis of the slopes was based upon a brown clay bulk sample taken from, hold on, I used both pages and that wasn't it. Maybe you could tell me the last word on that. Hold on. From test pit TP-3. Which is recompacted. So bottom line is, I mean, I know developers want to make as much money as they can, but sometimes we have to think about integrity. And what this development really needs is some integrity to build just any possible spot you can and dig into the hillside and affect people that live up above that are also members of our community in Murraysville. I just really, somebody told me recently to have faith in the Planning Commission and the Murraysville Council because they will do the right thing. And I am going to have faith that you understand. And if you haven't come over to take a look at this hillside they're talking about where those 12 units are being built, wait till you see it. It's very steep, and our houses up above are really on the edge. So I thank you for allowing us to speak at these meetings, and I am going to have faith that the right thing will be done. Please don't vote on this tonight. It needs more work. Thank you so much.
Mr. McCutcheon, it seems like some of the comments that she made, and I wasn't following them all because I didn't have it in front of me, but it sounded like it was like your earlier concerns.
They were.
And
those were the ones that were given to the client and have spent the past month addressing in detail. And that's why we were more comfortable now than I was last month with the site.
Okay,
I
so-
know that there's no red clays up there, even though they originally depicted some red clays up there. I know they're not in that area. I know it's sandstone. I'm very comfortable with the stability of the slope.
So in your opinion, the slopes are stable? The cut slopes are going to be
Yes.
stable?
Something happens, you'll sign off, and we come back to you.
They're already asking who to sue.
We can sue you when it falls. You're okay with
You got to sue them.
Your opinion also is guaranteeing.
All right, so,
I'm
so
not
we're not having a debate here tonight, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that point.
I want to make sure he understands what's going to happen.
Well, I think we all understand, sir. Okay, planning commission members, your thoughts?
Yeah, I just have one basic question. Okay, parallel slopes,
Yes.
okay, current to be performed. What is that distance between the parallel slopes?
Probably on the order, you know, Jeff, you know the grading.
Yeah, the vertical distance is about, what, 14 feet, I think it was, something like that. So that would be about,
With the lateral distance.
lateral
I'm
distance,
looking horizontal.
yeah, lateral distance, and I'm trying to pull this from memory, it's probably about 30 feet or so.
So you're taking 30 feet off the current slope?
Again, I'm trying to.
Yeah, round
roughly,
number.
yeah,
Out of-
20 or 30 feet,
Out of,
to create the pad.
out of 80 feet now?
I think it's more than that. Again, I can't, I don't have the dimensions in my head right now.
Okay,
I think we need a clarification of that.
I think this is the disadvantage of not having a paper plan. Because if we
Yeah,
had this
could you-
plan in front of us on paper with our
Pull up
handy
original site
dandy
plan Submission, please.
scale.
scale, it would be much easier for everybody to understand.
Okay,
It's my only comment.
Oh, yeah, and the paper plan was submitted several months ago.
Right.
And as we've gone through each of these, we've, provided the additional information.
Right, but we don't have that right here in front of us
Correct.
right now, so that you could very easily answer this gentleman's question.
Right.
With a scale and the paper plan, because I'm looking at an older drawing here that shows what is this? Proposed limits of disturbance. And I don't know what this drawing's dated. And I don't know if it's been changed, but, if this gentleman saw this drawing, he might feel a little more comfortable.
well, you're talking about the one that's in the Dropbox, it's dated.
This is going back
This
to the
is,
last meeting.
well, this is dated 10/17. I think this is the one that Mr. McCutcheon and the consultant were referring to. And then you would like to have that as a piece of paper that you could
I'm
put your
just saying
scale
that
onto. Yeah,
this is
it
the
makes it-
disadvantage of everything being digital.
Electronic.
Makes it a lot
Can't
easier.
put a scale on it and say, this is 30 feet. We're
Right.
guessing here. So that's the only comment I meant. Yeah, here's the date. This
right.
one's dated 4/19/24.
19.
Oh, it's a different one than I'm looking at. Okay. Ed, did you have something?
Does that help?
I'm just simply saying, there seems
That's the steep slopes.
approximately
grading
and all
plan.
this stuff, and
I
I'm an
want-
engineer also, and when I worked on projects, my plan was not to solve the easy stuff, it was to make sure I solved the most difficult problem
Right.
first, so that I don't waste money solving the easy stuff. So when you're kicking the can down the road, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
You're referring to the one area. that-
Turnaround and all that stuff.
Yeah, but again, we're going to maintain the existing top of slope there. We can't go any further than that. And, just looking at the grading issues themselves, and not necessarily the unit counts and that sort of thing, because since we're looking at the conditional use permit for grading at this point.
Mr. Chairman, if we approve or pass it along,
Recommend approval.
recommend approval or whatever, from a process standpoint, can they start chopping away at the side of the hill?
No, they would still have to get
Council.
approval by council. Council would go through a similar process as to what we've gone through here. In other words, they will have to have a public hearing on it. Listen, and all this evidence that's been uncovered or reports that have been uncovered would obviously be part of that record. They also have to, I assume, get your NPDES permits from the.
We will need to get our NPDES permit, and we will also be back with our final site plans for utilities, grading, and also subdivision plans. So there are at least 2 other applications here that we will be in front of you on for
And that is
the
be-
zoning issues.
And that is before you start cutting away at the
Absolutely.
slope.
Until we have the permits from you for doing the grading, we can't do anything.
Down the back of the room.
This gentleman back here would like to speak. Could I? Please use the microphone, sir.
My name is Dick Almus. I'm one of the owners of one of the buildings that you're going to make that cut. What would be very helpful, and I don't know if you develop these, some cross-sections showing where the buildings are, the existing cut slope, and then where you're going to cut into that slope.
They did, we worked through those.
Do we have those? Yeah, I think it's really critical to see those cross-sections all along that slope, particularly the area of these homes, and also to depict the subsurface conditions, where your fill is limited to, and then where you hit natural ground.
That's theirs.
They have it.
I don't have it here with me, but we have some.
That would really help clarify how much of that hillside is going to be cut back,
Yes, you're right.
Do you need the grading plan?
but in
He
cross-section.
wants to see
It
a
was
cross-section.
cross-sections.
I'm asking the engineer. What plan do you need?
It's in the geotechnical report. Those cross-sections are in the geotechnical report that was provided by GTA earlier.
What I think you may be asking for, though, is additional sections through there, not the stability ones we were working with.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yeah,
We could cut additional sections showing all the way from the homes down.
yeah, if you started up there on, what is that, Shirley Lane?
On Shirley Lane.
Shirley Lane, cut through a house, come down to whatever the extension of Goldie Lane is to, draw some sections through there, like where Test Pit 2 and Test Pit, I think it's 12, and then over here with Test Pit 11, and I guess that's Boring 3, through that slope, as well as the one down by the cul-de-sac with this other one. That ought to solve that problem.
Yeah, we could provide, we can easily generate those.
Okay. All right. Planning Commission, what is your wishes on this? Are you in a position to recommend approval to council for this conditional use?
I am not.
No, neither am I, Bob.
I mean, I hate to keep dragging this out, but these people have very legitimate questions, and I think that they need to be more comfortable with what's going to happen. And, I can look at this drawing, and I feel safe that your home's going to be okay as long as all the soil and everything is correct. When I see this proposed limits of disturbance, but they're not. And so that's just my opinion. Somebody else can make a recommendation.
Mr. Morrison,
Separate issues here, site plan, the conditional use. If you close the conditional use meeting, I forget the date of that, meeting closed, you have 45 days. Unless given a waiver by the developer,
is the developer given a waiver?
not that I'm aware of.
Is the developer willing to give it a waiver?
We're going to do whatever we have to do, but I don't understand, I respect what you're saying, I respect what they're saying. This process has a long way to go, okay? What we're dealing with here is a grading, conditional use. Has nothing to do with yards and that. We're on our property, okay? We are, that hillside, he's concerned about how much is he losing. I respect that.
I'm also concerned about the future when it moves as
Okay.
well.
And
Nothing has been provided to us about that. Everything is in the dark with you guys.
Excuse me, sir. We're not going to go back and forth here.
nothing is in the dark. We've gone back and forth with your engineer for 2 months. Okay, tested soils, did what we had to do, did everything we could do to prove that the grading, okay, was acceptable. That's what this is about tonight.
Well,
As we start through the subdivision, I understand your concern about the turnaround down below, why go back and do.
Gary, you're gonna have to crawl back up there and use the microphone.
I understand why you're saying, do it now, don't kick the can. But that's part of the subdivision process. That's part of the land development.
Well, wait a
Okay?
minute.
We're dealing with conditional use.
So,
Right. That's
we were
the most
right.
important part.
And this is an important part, and it's, this process is somewhat convoluted in that we don't have, we're here dealing with a site plan that may or may not be affected. We've had to go through the exercise of dealing with the geotechnical end of this thing. Residents still have questions. Obviously, some of the council, one of the council members has questions. I think the members of the Planning Commission also have questions. Ask for a little bit of more information. So, I ask you, it seems to me we're in a paradox here. We either have to recommend denial because of the
Right.
time limit, or you give us an extension on the conditional use application.
I mean, obviously, we're going to give the extension, but at some point, when does, if we do this again next month, and the comfort level, they just said, we're not comfortable, are we at the same point again next month?
Well, that's
at what point
let
does
me
this
ask
come
the
to an end?
next question here. What is it that the Planning Commission would like to see from the developer and our consultant and the staff? What is it that you want? You want paper copies?
I do. I would like to see the drawing over there on paper with a scale so that we can adequately answer this gentleman and this lady's questions.
Okay.
Because we can't
So
tell them how many
can
feet.
we run off 7 prints, Jim, of everything? Now,
It doesn't have to be everything.
Is there a print handy that we could look at right now?
no, wait a minute, Jerry. Now, they've asked for some additional cross-sections, which I assume your engineer can provide those. And let's take into account the gentleman that's asking all the questions back there, his particular property, so he can see what's going on.
I'm familiar. I'm very familiar with your home. I've got no problem with that.
Okay. All right. So you're willing to grant an extension?
I'd
Reluctantly,
absolutely be
I
thrilled.
understand.
I know.
Okay. All right.
Jeff, will you forward that to me, please? Will you forward that to me?
All right.
So Planning Commission wants to see 7 paper copies of what? The whole total plan submitted for the major excavation?
No. I'm looking at a drawing right now that was from last month's meeting. Let's see if I can move this up here.
What's in the title box?
I can't get it to go. Wait a minute.
I'm looking at one that's dated 10/17, which is of 23, which is kind of the overall site plan, shows the colored slopes.
This is SLP2, existing condition slope map. And this one is dated,
April 19th.
I think it's 1924.
Jeff,
Here, let me,
how long would it take you to scratch out some cross-sections?
I could have cross-sections early next week.
Okay.
And just to make it easier on you, Jim, instead of looking through other stuff, what I'll do is go ahead, excuse me, our current grading plans, we'll go ahead and send those to Jim as well at the same time, and then that way you don't have to go looking through the stuff that you've gotten from the several different
We want to see
submissions that have come.
existing in
Jeff,
paper.
Right.
Just make
and
sure they're to
proposed.
scale.
So we can.
Sorry?
Make sure they're
Answer
to
the
scale, not reduced.
No, I'll do the 24 by 36s. We'll go ahead and print them and get them up here to Jim.
All right. All right.
7 copies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else?
And the cross-sections.
Sections, Jeff's gonna run.
We need to
some
generate
for us,
those.
7
That's
of
simple.
those.
Yep.
And you might throw a couple extra in case the people want to see them or whatever.
Will do. I'll send you 10. An even number.
Okay.
What about response to the North Duane Drive question?
Well, he's going to look into that.
We haven't actually seen the letter yet, so
Okay.
we can't respond to it.
I'll send that over to you.
Thank you.
So, I have a motion to table this conditioned upon getting a waiver.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table this until we get the rest of the information and
The waiver.
the waiver, correct?
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Have a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wait, there's something else.
Waited this whole time.
Okay, next item is discussion of a parking lot repaving project for Coltech located at 3102 Ron Avenue in the B zoning district. Mr. Swearingen. Oh, look, he has a card and everything.
Been doing this a long time. You guys look really exhausted, so let's just make it really fast.
Okay.
I ask.
So what do you got?
So I'm here because my client wants to actually repave his parking area. It's currently consisting of stone, 2A stone, so it's compacted extremely hard. It runs off right into the creek, and he would like to make it a dust-free surface, easier to maintain, less stone to be pushing around after winter. So he'd like to actually pave it with asphalt. So this, the property is actually located, as Mr. Mytal had mentioned. I guess I should back up. My name is John Swearingen. I'm with the firm of Farringer, McCarty, Gray. Sorry. It's been a long time since I've been here in front of you folks. It's actually good to be back.
Came on a good day.
Pardon me?
You came on a good day.
Trust me, I've been to a lot. I've been doing this for over 30 years, so I've been to a lot of really long meetings, some here. So that was fine. So yeah, this is, I'm assuming you folks know where this is. This is at the intersection of Trafford and Braun.
Yep.
It's right along Trafford. It's very highly visible. The owner, Joe, actually reached out to me and said that he would like to be quite honest, he wanted to pervious pave this with asphalt. So we looked at that initially. We gave him the pros and the cons of pervious pavement. When I discussed with him the O&M, and I discussed with him the fact that he's going to have to remove all the stone there now, he's going to have to start over again, it's going to require an erosion control permit, it's going to take months. I saw his face turn white, and I said, it's a good thing ultimately, but it's a lot of work. And plus on top of that, it's a lot of maintenance, which again, his heart was in the right place. I wasn't trying to talk him out of it, but when I explained to him the average cost of maintaining pervious asphalt, again, he wasn't really interested in that type of use anymore. So then we started the process of looking into just paving it with asphalt. I'll be quite blunt, I was shocked because when we initially started this process in discussions with Murraysville, we were utilizing that what he currently has is impervious pavement. What I was missing, and Mr. Morrison actually brought impervious pavement. So that's where the confusion started, and I don't want to say we wasted about a month and a half of the owner's time, but had to start over again. Graciously, Mr. Morrison and Mr. Mytal, we discussed this together and said, we got to get on the agenda immediately and get this approved as quickly as possible. He still wants to get this paved this year. So the good news is with the impervious asphalt that he wants to place on the site, two things. We're reducing it, not significantly, we're reducing a little over 1,200 square feet. To actually do a lot more than what we're showing on the screen there. We're just showing 7 trees. I'll be honest with you, he's planning on closer to 12 trees because he wants it to be treed up, is what he told me. And I said, that's fine, we'll show 7. He's got to put at least 7 in. If he wants to put another 5, 10 trees in, you know, that's on him and he can do that. But he also wanted to add beds so that it would help soften the look of all the stone that's there now. Again, his intention is admirable, and he's like, he didn't call it an eyesore, and I wouldn't refer to the site as an eyesore, but it's going to be improved significantly with the work that's being proposed at this time.
What do they actually do there?
So it's the mining business, the coal business, he tests. So they get samples brought in there from different mines, so he tests the quality of the coal.
And that's what they do in the garage area?
Correct.
And they have employees in the garage area?
He's got a total of, on average, 5 to 6 employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the office?
In the office and in the garage area. And then they have the secondary building that also houses some testing equipment.
Okay.
So he gets an occasional larger truck in there. There is a loading dock that we're going to maintain. See if I can do this. I'm not sure which button this is, Jim. There we go. Oh,
Oops, sorry.
that's okay. You're just messing with me now. Okay, this area right here is actually, oh, he's doing it again.
Were you there?
He's trying to keep me on my toes. So can you go down to the next building? Yeah, right there. Okay, so this is a loading dock, so we're maintaining that. Right now, this is all stone, so he's going to put a nice little landscape bed in there. Again, we're not reflecting the shrubs and the additional smaller trees that flowering trees he wants to add. We're just reflecting the 7 deciduous shade trees.
So that really isn't a dwelling there, so no, it's...
No, it was just, the base information was a survey we were provided. It was generated by AWK for him years ago, and so they were nice enough to actually provide it to FMG in an AutoCAD format, so we were using that as our base.
Okay.
So,
And I see you provided a little stormwater management report that
yeah.
comes to show that you're not increasing the amount of runoff from the site.
No, exactly, and we're not changing the grading. All the intent was just to scrape the stone around, to level it off, to make it so that he's got a nice, sufficient thickness. So the grading isn't going to change. Everything basically from basically this location all the way to the south down to the creek, just sheet flows in a very gradual manner because it's not very steep. The steepest section of the site is actually off the plan as we see it here, is the road up to Braun. That driveway, which is minimally used, is what I'm being told, is actually around 12% in gradient, so it's pretty steep. But the rest of the pavement is extremely flat. So he says it just gradually flows across the lot when it rains heavy now, and it goes right down into the creek. So the intent, Jim, if you can slide up a little bit. Our intent, nope, the other way. Slide, yeah, there you go. So, oh, over.
Sorry.
See, he's doing it again. Okay, so this area down here, we're actually proposing, this is going to be the edge of pavement, and it's currently stone now. We're going to put it back and leave it as stone because this area down here is actually going to remain as stone as a buffer down before it hits the creek. So it goes basically from asphalt across what we're proposing to be a 9-foot wide by 4.5-foot deep trench of clean stone that's wrapped in fabric. So basically I would call it an interceptor trench. Not really infiltration because we're not doing any testing beneath it. And it's so close to the creek, so even if we were to try to infiltrate, it would pop out the creek anyways. So, you know, it's above the creek, even at the invert elevation. It's just going to basically work its way down to the creek. But it's, again, 9 foot wide by 4.5 feet deep. And it's actually a total of 83 feet or 80 feet-ish long, so the full length of the proposed asphalt, edge of asphalt.
So this whole site's 1.5 acres, but a lot of it is, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but a certain amount of it is already treed or vegetated or something.
Yeah, a lot of it is wooded.
Wooded.
It's called wooded. Some of it's scrubby woods, but yeah, and we're not touching any of that.
Yeah.
And again, he wants to add to the tree edge Again, I'm not going to stop him. No one would want to stop him from planting more trees. He loves sycamores. He's like, can I plant sycamores? I'm like, yeah, sycamores grow fast and they grow anywhere. So you're probably going to see more trees than what we're showing. And again, I'm not going to discourage that.
We would also recommend some low-growing trees, non-invasive low-growing.
Yeah, so again, I don't have, he hired a landscaper to come in and do the plans. I mean, we're landscape architects and civil engineers, but he didn't hire me to do that. And I said, that's fine, man. You go and you go with someone you're comfortable with. He's related to the Patulskis. So, I don't know who they use, but it's someone connected with the home builder. So he's related to them, I think, through the in-laws. Again, there's no building construction, no building improvements. This is literally
Just
just
like to
wants
pave his gravel lot.
That's what he wants to do.
We have any issues with this, Mr. Morrison?
No, he has to find another parking space, though, if he has 5 employees.
And park inside.
According to the parking requirements, it's the square footage plus 1 space for each employee. If it's a business office.
Well, 1, 2, 3,
Another stripe on there.
5,
I'll throw another
6,
stripe
7,
on there.
Put another stripe on.
8,
You could call the loading dock a parking space, right?
Right.
9, 10, 11, 12. I
Get
see.
the handicap access, you need some low growing. If you want this to get to council at their next meeting, I'm gonna need everything by Thursday.
Everything meaning what?
Landscaping and the updated site plan.
I need to provide a landscaping plan? Oh,
Well, just count the number of trees you got and put it over there in the corner someplace.
I need low growing.
Pardon?
You say I need low
Yeah, just some
growing.
low lying in the islands.
Okay, we can do that. I'll see if he already has something planned.
Yeah, I see that.
You
You just need to, you can just list them on the plan, what you propose to plan.
Yeah, I just got to make sure that what is proposed is actually going to meet code too,
Yep.
because of variety. But,
Right,
yeah.
invasive.
Yeah.
Jim, can you scroll down slightly?
Sure.
And if we're looking about additional parking space, I see that dark right below where your hand
Yeah,
is. Can
right
you
there.
add one right there?
Well, that's actually, so you see a little fenced-in area, the corner,
Yeah,
just
okay.
to the left? Yeah, on that concrete, that's where his dumpster is.
Okay.
So we didn't want to block that, but yeah, I mean,
You'll probably get one right in here.
yeah, that's the loading dock, so we could say that that's a parking space, but,
Well, how about behind the building there?
yeah, I mean, obviously, there's going to be tons of space. So that little piece of asphalt going around the
In the-
porch area,
All right.
that's actually just for access around the building for security and safety reasons. That's not,
It could be a parking space.
yeah.
All right, so we can recommend approval subject to them providing a landscape plan? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep. That's a 9 to
Mr.
5
Chairman.
business time.
Yes, Ms. Hoy.
I recommend.
Actually, it's 9 to 4.
Okay.
Because I called at 4:15 and they said they were closed. It's like, wow, I love those hours.
Go ahead, Ms. Hoy.
I recommend that we move on to council with our recommendation for approval. The parking lot and repaving project for Coltech, located at 3102 Braun Avenue.
Seconded.
With the conditions of.
With the conditions, yes, that we just discussed.
There's a second, Mr. Patrick? Second. Second. Any question on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nice to see you, Mr. Swearingen.
I bet it is,
Like-
isn't it?
Come back more
Yeah,
often.
thank you. I'll send Brian more often. but- Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
Brian's got his hands full with the handyman right now.
Okay, so the next thing is this overlay district. And the gentleman, Mr. DiBiase, didn't you come in once before and ask for a rezoning?
No, twice.
Twice? Only twice?
You guys approved it both times.
And we approved it both times, but it's still MU.
And they said no. I never was able to find out why. 'Cause they're not-
Council denied it.
Council?
Council,
They don't always listen to us.
Yeah, right.
Twice. Once with an attorney, I thought that would.
okay.
I'm exasperated. And I was told that you were going to get into this again, so when I saw it in the paper.
So is Mr. DiBiase's property in this business overlay district?
Yes.
It is.
believe it is. I'd have to look for certain.
Well, what's,
Well,
I mean, what's the,
Once upon a time, there was a paper street under my highway sign. So when they went and they did the original changing of everything, they said, well, everything on 22, that's commercial. But if it's not on 22,
That's right, there was a street parallel to 20.
exactly, that's right. It was right
So that's
parallel
what has
to 20.
precluded
The
you.
street sign was on it. It's always been on it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
never open. It gets open on the next building, and then after you go across the next street where the funeral
Arts,
parlor
yeah.
is, then it actually is a little street, because you'll see that the houses are set back.
Yeah.
So how many years has your little shopping center been there? 40 years, 50 years?
No, it was built in the 50s. It's been there a long time.
So it's always been a commercial piece of property, yet we don't zone it business.
Probably got rezoned mixed use.
pardon?
We would have got rezoned mixed use.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just hope that when you do all this planning, that you don't forget the little guy who's there.
Okay. Yeah, I sympathize with you, sir.
I'll take a look at the EPD recommendations for South Murraysville, because that's where that's incorporated.
Yeah.
Right.
And see
Okay.
what they suggest there.
Now, part of our duties was we were supposed to read over all this stuff that EPD gave us.
I have to admit, I didn't do it.
Me either.
Sorry.
Right? So we're all guilty.
I don't know what.
So we're all guilty.
I read it, but it seemed like it was standard verbiage coming from someplace else in another ordinance.
Well, the problem that I see with it is getting it to blend, do the wordsmithing on it, that it gets it in compliance. And I guarantee you, sure as I'm sitting here, once it's passed, you're going to find all kinds of little things in there that this doesn't agree with that section and da. It's just the way it is. So.
Well, I think what the desire was to get the council the concept. Say yay, nay, or this might work a little better, and then bring it back to our planning commission and begin the wordsmithing with EPD.
All right. Has that process gone forward to giving it to council?
It's on the next agenda,
Okay.
so if you would kindly respond,
Yes.
I can get that as part of the briefing to council when they take it up at their meeting next week.
Well, in my own personal opinion, I think the concept is sort of broad-based, but it's a concept. It's not an exact wordsmithing. It's not ordinance language, but I think council's bright enough to figure out to get the thrust of what we're doing.
Right.
And so we can take care of that. Okay. Is there any other business we have?
No, actually, that building there on Kistler Road's turning out to be a pretty nice building.
On Kistler?
You noticed it?
It looks all right.
Yeah, that's right, it is.
Oh, yes. Yeah, with all the points.
Metal
Yeah.
roof on it.
Yeah.
When he started out, that was to be a prefab, and we beat the hell out of him and got
Yeah.
a nice building out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
I think he ought to be congratulated for the work he did.
All right.
For the lashing that he took, huh? Well,
We're starting congratulating developers now. Okay. Nothing else for the good of the cause this evening?
I move we adjourn.
second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.